Hey guys, my name is Manoj and today we are going to learn how to serve multiple websites over CloudFront distribution. And one of my projects, we had to face a challenge to serve multiple websites. The use case is like this. We had an AngularJS application that has been built over the years. So we really needed to move into a new framework, either Angular or React. Finally, we decided to go with React, and we built the application all new in React. And we did a lot of UI changes on top of that as well. So when we wanted to roll out this new version to our users, our customers had this concern. I mean, we should not roll out immediately all at once, because there's a lot of change in the UI. People might like it or they might not like it. So in that case, what we decided is we decided to go with both the versions. So normally when a user logged into the application, they will be logged into the old version, but they have this option, okay, try out the new version, a button or the link. When they click on that, it will be changed to the new application. The URL is not going to change. There will be no any redirects. So we had to do that. For that, we used Lambda at Edge. So that is the main focus today in this video. I will give you an example on how to do that, how to change between multiple sites without changing the domain name or using any redirects also. For that, we are going to use Lambda at Edge. Okay, now before we go into the code and actually implement this, let me give a quick overview about the architecture. So our old application is in a S3 bucket. So this is where our Angular application lives. And our React application is again inside the S3 bucket. Now both these S3 buckets, the static web hosting has been enabled. So both are public S3 buckets. And we have a CloudFront distribution. So this will do all the caching when users are requesting for the application. So once the user is requesting, he will be first directed to the old application, because remember, we did not directly change to the new one. We always serve the old one first. So once the old application is being served to the users, then users has the option to either go and view the new application or stay with the old application. Now here in the CloudFront, we are using Lambda at Edge. The CloudFront distribution itself has this domain configured already. It has, let's say in this case, we'll call it example.com. So we configured a domain, and there are 4 Lambda Edge functions that will be triggered in certain point of time with the request. Now there are like 2 main sites, guys. The first side is the viewers side. Now these are our viewers or the users, we can call them viewers. So viewers, we have 2 Lambda functions that get triggered at certain point of time. Now first Lambda function is, we call it viewer request. When request is made by a viewer, before it actually cached at the CloudFront, this Lambda function get triggered. And once it goes down to the backend servers, or in this case our S3 static hosted bucket, and when the response is being returned, that return response will be again triggered this particular Lambda. So this Lambda is called viewer response Lambda. So before it actually reach out to the user's browser, this Lambda will get triggered. So this is the viewer side. And similarly, we have the origin side. Now, these are our origins. Basically, we have 2 custom origin, although we can call them S3 origins. Since we have enabled S3 static web hosting, we can also call them as custom origins as well. So anyways, we have 2 origins. So at origin side, we again have 2 Lambda functions that get triggered in a similar manner. When the request is has been cached at the CloudFront level, this Lambda get triggered, which is called origin request. This origin request Lambda function determines, okay, which origin that this request should be forwarded to. And in our application, when we are doing this switching between new and old S3 buckets or website, we use this particular Lambda. And similarly, we have the origin, the response function. So that will be triggered when the response is passed from the new from the origin basically. So here we are going to use origin request Lambda function in order to change the origin depending upon user's selection. So let me quickly give you how the users select this particular origin. So once the old application is being served to the user, they have a button or a link, we can have anything. So once they click on that link or a button, we can set a cookie. So in this case, we set a cookie called version. So if he wants to look at the new application, try out the new application, we set the version to new. Or it could be anything, right? So we set the version cookie to new, and at the origin request Lambda, we inspect what is this cookie value. Is it new or is it old? Right? So if it is new, we will forward that user's request to the new application, which is where the React application is. And if he finds, okay, new application is not quite the one that he wants, he doesn't like the new one, then he can again change this cookie value by clicking on another button. Okay, I want to go back to the old version. So then the cookie value will be set to old. Again, this origin request Lambda function will inspect that cookie value and find that it is old. So version is old. So instead of sending it to the new application origin, or in this particular S3 bucket, we will send that to the this S3 bucket where the AngularJS application is living. So this is the basic architecture, and we'll do a light version of this, very light version of this architecture in code in about right now. Alright guys, so now I am in the AWS console, and I will go to S3 first, and we'll create two S3 bucket to hold our old and new applications. So I will click on S3 here, and I will click create bucket button. Let's give a name, old website YouTube. Region I will set to North Virginia. Next, click next and check off this button. So basically we don't need this selected, block all public access, because our websites are going to be public, and click next and create bucket. So the bucket is created. If I filter by date created, there we go, old website YT, and we'll create another bucket, new website YT, new website YT or YouTube, and here also North Virginia, and click next, next, don't block all public access, and create the bucket. Okay, now both buckets are now created. Now let's enable static web hosting for both of these buckets. So first I will click old website, and there I will go to properties and select static web hosting and use this bucket to host a website. What is the index.html? And here it is. I will choose the index.html for the error document as well, and we'll add those index.html in a bit. Click save. Okay, static web hosting is now enabled. Now I will add static web hosting for the new website as well. I will click here, go to properties, static web hosting, use hosting, index.html file is at the root level, error will render the same index.html file in case of an error. Then we can add index.html file or any website code here. It will serve the website. But one small thing we have to do, in order to serve this website for any anonymous users, we have to set the permission. So in order to set the permission, we have to use bucket permissions. So there's a tab called permission, click on that. And here, if you select bucket policy, so we have to add a bucket policy in order to any user, any anonymous user to access this website. So in order to do that, we can go to documentation link right below here, click on that, and there is this bucket policy examples link, and scroll a little bit down and you will see read only permission to any anonymous user policy. Copy that one and go back. So the bucket policy editor, and I will paste that in, and I have to change the resource name. So right now it is pointing to example bucket, but my bucket name is new website -yt. So I will replace here. So it's basically giving any anonymous user the get object permission. So it's allowing that. Okay. So I will save this bucket policy, and when I save it, you see the public tab or the public label is enabled. So it is publicly accessible. So I will just copy this same bucket policy, and I will go to my old website as well. Date created, and this is my old website, and I will add that bucket policy here as well. And instead of new website, I will change it name to old website. Paste that in. Looks good. Save. So it is also publicly available. Right, it's time to upload the code into these two buckets. Now, I will add this to a GitHub repository for you guys to see as well. But really, it's a very simple code. Now I am in my Visual Studio Code, and there are two folders called new and old, and there's another folder called Lambda. We'll get back to it in a bit. But the new folder contains the new application code. There's nothing but just an index.html file. Now if I open it up, so it's a simple HTML. In this HTML, so in this head section, you have the title, my app, and in the body section, I have an h2 tag just saying, okay, this is the new application, my new app, and under that there's a button. So this is the button that will allow me to set the cookie and change between new and the old application. So in both sides we have a text saying whether it is new or old, and a button to switch between the other version. Now let me show you the old one as well. If I open the old version, so this is the index.html for the old application. So the text is just old here, so we can distinguish between these two applications. And there's another button. Here the text is try the new version, and we are attaching an event listeners for both these buttons. Now in the old application, the button listener listens on the click event, and when it is clicked, it sets this cookie document.cookie to the version new. See, now we are in the old one, so we set the cookie version to new, and then we will reload the application. Similarly, in the new one, in the button event handler, it's listen for the click event, and here it says it sets the document cookie to version old and then reloads it. So this is really it about the applications. So let's upload this code to our S3 buckets, shall we? So I will go to my old website. I will click on overview section and click upload and add files, and I will select the old index.html and click next, next, and upload. Okay, it's uploaded, and I'll go back to my new bucket, which is right here, and I will upload that new file as well, new index.html. So let me first go to that folder, and this is one. Okay, open it up, next, and upload. Okay, so new website HTML is also added. Now let's create a CloudFront distribution and configure it to serve our old application. Shall we do that? So I will go to CloudFront. You can click services and search for CloudFront. And here I'm going to create a new distribution. Click create distribution. It's going to be a web distribution. Get started. And here I have to add the origin domain name. Now we have to be a little careful here. We need to add the domain name of the S3 website, not the S3 bucket name, because we are configuring our two buckets as custom origins, not S3 origin, because there are some issues when we configure them as S3 origin when we are doing this forwarding based upon the Edge Lambda. So I will click date created and I will select my old website and I will go to properties, and here I will click static web hosting, and this is the website endpoint, right? So I will copy up to this point without http // So this is my domain name. I will just copy that, go back to the other tab. So the origin domain name, I will just paste that in. So origin ID, I will just say website, or rather old website, and leave other settings as it is, and then create the distribution. So it's in progress. So it's going to take about 15 minutes. Okay, it is still deploying, but if I just go into the distribution and copy the domain name, and I will paste that in a new tab. There we go. It serves the old application. Now let's check something here. I will go and click inspect element. So I open up the inspect element and we'll see if the cookie is properly setting, because if you can remember, if I click try new version, it's going to set the version to new and it's going to reload the application. Let's see if that cookie gets properly set. And I will go to applications, and you can see there's this cookie tab here. And if I open that up, and you see right now there are no cookies set for this particular CloudFront domain. Now this is the CloudFront domain. Now of course we can add a custom domain to this in CloudFront, but we're not going to do that. I think we have already done that in one particular video. I will link that video in the description as well. So I'm going to click cookies here, and then I'm going to try the new version. I will select that. Okay, I can see the reload happened. And what if I go now here and check? You can see the version cookie is now properly set. Version, the value is new. If I go to network and if I click new version again, you can see it is now being served from CloudFront, and that is a hit from the CloudFront. That means it is served from the cache in CloudFront. Okay, cool. So it works. And now let's move on to the most important part of this episode, that is use this particular cookie value and determine the origin. So in this case, if I click try new version, the Lambda Edge function render the new version upon the page reload. So let's do that. So in order to check the code that we are going to put in the Lambda function, I will switch back to the code editor, and you can see there's another folder called Lambda. I will close this one and I open up the Lambda code, and this is our Lambda code that get triggered at the origin request. Now if I walk you through this code, an event object is passed onto this Lambda function. So in this event object, you can go to records and then to the request, where actual request object can be referenced. So right now I have a reference to the request object. So in this request object, I can further dive into the headers section, so I can access all the headers, the request headers basically. So in this headers section, I have the cookie attribute, where it will represent all the cookies that is set onto this domain. For example, here in this application domain, I have only one cookie, right? So there will be list of cookies. So all that list of cookies will be represented in headers.cookies reference. Now above that, I have few constants defined. Now the first constant is the version equal new. Now this is basically the cookie value, the key and the value. And the old version is version equal old. So I have them in constants, so it's easy for me to do the comparison. And then I have two domains for the new and old sites. Now in the new site, you can see we have to change it because this one belongs to an example I did before recording this video. So here I have to set the new site domain and here the old site domain. So we'll quickly pick them up from S3, and this is the domain for the old website. I will just copy that. And here under the old website domain, paste that in. And this is my new website domain. Come back and paste that in. And then I have another variable called domain. At the moment it's empty. And first I will check whether there are any cookies set. If there are no any cookies set, at the else block, I am just passing the same request forward. Because there are no cookies set, so that means they haven't clicked on any button and they are still viewing the all site. But if, however, a cookie is set, then I will go through the cookies array, because there's a list of cookies as I showed you earlier, and then I will check whether the value of each and every cookie matches with my constants, right? So if a cookie value is equal to version new, so that means I know the user has clicked on try new version. So in that case, I am setting this domain variable to the new site domain. And if it is set for the old version value, that means he want to go back to the old version from the new version, right? So in that case, I will set this domain to all site domain. So after this loop, I will have the domain set. And then what I'm going to do is I am configuring the origin that this request needs to forward. So it's basically a custom origin. So in the custom origin, I'm setting the domain to whatever the domain that has been set. So it could be new site or the old site, and the protocol is HTTP, and there are some other attributes that is required. Let's copy this code and let's create a new Lambda function. So I will go to my CloudFront and I will go to Lambda, and guys, make sure to select the region North Virginia, because Lambda Edge as of now only supporting North Virginia Lambda functions. So then click create function, and you can use a blueprint, and here you can type CloudFront and hit enter. So it's gonna filter out all the CloudFront templates. You can pick anything. Maybe I will select this one and click configure. Give it a name, HDemo YouTube. And the execution role itself is attached to this template. So you just have to give a role name, HDemo role YouTube. And this is the sample code that they have given, but we'll change that. I will create the function now. Okay, it's successfully created. And if I scroll a little bit down and I will select the Lambda function here, I can see the code. I'm going to delete whatever the code that exists here and paste in the code I just walked you through. Then I'm going to save this, and then we can attach this Lambda function to our origin request Lambda in our CloudFront distribution. Now that can be easily done in console. You can see this CloudFront, the global deployment is pending notice. Anyway, just click on this, and below here you have configure triggers. So there's this button called deploy to Lambda at edge. So this is how we deploy this function to Lambda at edge. So click on that. It's going to open up a window, and there we have to select our CloudFront distribution. You can easily go to another tab and go to CloudFront, and you can see the ID E2JX. So I will go back to console. It should be E2JX. So this is the one. And the cache behavior, so we have only one default path that is pointing out to our old application. So let me show you that quickly as well. So if I just go into this behaviors, so I have this one default path routing all requests to old website origin, which is our old website S3 bucket. So that is where we are going to attach the origin request. This Lambda will be triggered there. So you can either select include body. In this case, we are passing along the cookie, so it's in the header. We don't necessarily need it. So I will just check acknowledge and deploy. Okay, it's going to take few minutes, or about 15 minutes or so. Okay guys, so it's still in progress, but let's go and check whether it works. So I'm in my CloudFront domain, and I will go into my application and cookies, and I will clear the previously set cookies, and I'm gonna go to network tab and then click try new version, and I can see 304 not modified status. So that means nothing has been modified in the request. So the content, the response is served from the CloudFront cache. So that is why there's this hit from CloudFront. But this is not what we expect, right? We want it to be evaluated at the CloudFront, check the CloudFront cookie and forward it to the new origin, but it's not happening. So let's go to our CloudFront and let's see what has happened actually. I will go into my CloudFront and I will go into the behaviors, and this is my default behavior, and I will edit it, scroll a little bit down, and if you look at the forward cookies, at the moment we are not forwarding any cookies. Now the cookies are in the headers, request headers. So since we are not forwarding any cookies, CloudFront will assume two requests with different cookie headers as one request. So it will have only one cache in CloudFront. But that is not what we expect, right? Because we want to switch those origins based on the cookie. So in order to have two caches based on the cookie values, we have to whitelist or forward our version cookie. So in order to do that, just click on here and select whitelist and type the cookie name version here and click yes edit. So that will whitelist our version cookie, and it will create two separate caches in the CloudFront. So in about few minutes we can test that, and I will go to my application now and I will clear any cookies that is being set at the moment. So right now there's this version cookie set. I will just take that out and I will go to the network tab and I will start hitting this try new version button. Okay, I will click on that and there we go. It just served me the new application. And as you can see, the domain has not been changed. And if I go to the applications and cookies, the cookie version new is set and it served me the new application. And now what if the customer doesn't like this and he says, no thanks, old is gold, and he want to go back to the old version? He can click on that. And as you have already seen, if I refresh the cookies, the version is now old. The old application is now being served. This is great. Now I want to show you one other thing, guys. Now look at the status here in the request. If I just select one of the requests, you can see this is a hit from the CloudFront. I will rather clear this screen again and I will check the new version again. And this is a 200 status, open up the headers, and it's a hit from the CloudFront. Okay, so that this is being served from the CloudFront cache. And since I am in the new application, if I refresh while I am in the new application, as you can see, it's 304 not modified, and it's again a hit from the CloudFront. You can see there are two application caches in CloudFront based on the cookies. So that is all because we have whitelisted that version cookie. Okay, so that's what I want to show you guys. And if you like this type of videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for your time.